no radio at all. Not even with the bombing plane that's coming over. All radio is dead.
It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive.
Well, welcome to another episode of Horror of the Worlds. I'm Curtis Gerhardt.
And I'm Stephen Miller.
And Von Ian is still fucking here. Today we are talking about zombies. You know, Evil Dead, Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, zombies. No. We're more so the actual typical zombie that one would actually think
Animated corpses you'd see.
Well, granted, even though like Evil Dead is kind of like a reanimated corpse, even a reanimator, or like is a zombie.
Kind of, but those have like, I don't know, an intelligent possession versus mindless, brain-hungry beasts.
Yeah, like those, sometimes they're just out to torture.
Yeah.
You know, not so much for eating or trying to survive or any of that shit. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the origins of zombies. The English term zombie, or the English word zombie, didn't come around until like 1819, and it was a Z-O-M-B-I. So it wasn't even really the typical zombie word that we think of. It is also believed that it started in like the 17th to 18th century, like in Haiti, where it was a folklore, where it was a form of punishment, since a lot of these people were actually slaves for the sugarcane fields and everything, that they would these slaves would actually try to take their own lives because that was like their only control they had over their own bodies. And they had these voodoo priests and all these other slave lords saying that no, like when you kill yourself, you just come back as a zombie.
Yeah,
and
that's fucked up, man.
So they really did kind of play with play with their heads on like, we're gonna have you through life and death.
Oh, that's a new form of fucked up.
It is.
I like that.
Like free labor.
Yeah.
You know, like, now you don't have to feed them at all. You know, they just work. It's also around this time where a phrase kind of came into play. I don't know if you ever watched the show, but Saved by the Bell. Mm-hmm. This is where the term kind of came from, was when people were actually buried, they were buried alive because of, you know, poor doctor skills or what have you at the time.
Slower heartbeats than usual, misread.
And also from someone else that we're going to be talking about here in a few. But it was when people were buried, they had a piece of string attached to their, I want to say their head, hand, and foot, attached to a bell on the surface and stuff. So if someone was actually buried alive or came back to life, that bell would ring. Saved by the Bell.
Yeah. Well, so that's creepy.
It's kind of cool. Like a pretty innocuous word or phrase.
I've seen a picture of one of those graves. It had a bell hanging over the tombstone, but it also had the grave encased in a cage.
Well, I mean, like that's the thing. Like the
Stay
whole
the fuck dead, man.
Like the whole the Haiti folklore always came over in America too. I think in Louisiana and stuff, where some of their grave sites, they would have cages over the coffins because they didn't want them to come back to life if they did. I think some of it is because of the sea level being below sea level, and the coffins will raise out of the ground and create more of a creepy nature. But I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me on that.
Still creepy.
It is. So first movie we're going to kind of touch upon is Night of the Living Dead. Came out in 1968, directed by none other than George Romero.
The man himself.
Like, he's the one that created the zombie folklore, like, in movies. Like, so many movies have gotten their base off of other movies that he started. Like, he started everything when it comes to zombies.
Yeah, he had a set standard for the style and everything, for sure. He even started it off with a less than typical storyline. Well, maybe not less than typical. It's just your hero wasn't the normal hero you see in every movie.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like everyone kind of knows already. I feel like anyone that's watching this has already heard that. Like, oh, it's a black actor playing a big major role, and he's the hero and all this stuff. Where George Romero was just saying that he just played the part better.
Yeah.
Like, he did not care about the color of his skin or any of that stuff. It was just...
And they didn't kill this son of a bitch off early. Like, he was a pivotal character with intellectual thought process on how to survive and everything.
Like he was a man. Like he
Yeah, he
was
was
the
the
survivor. You know, slapping white bitches. You know, like making sure they stayed in line. You know, kept Whitey in the basement. If I remember, it was either George Romero was talking about, or it was saying in the movie that these zombies were created by radiation.
Oh,
Stuff.
yeah.
So
all right.
like there was a lot of fear that was going on in the world. Like this, I think it was like the Cold War and whatnot, with all these bombs that are potentially going to be going off, and what's going to happen. You know, we're going to have to fend for ourselves. We're losing humanity. That's what pretty much the basis of zombies are. Is just, you know, we're losing ourselves. Like we have no one else. We're facing no one else but our former selves, our thoughts of society, what society was.
Yeah, they even felt that back then.
Nothing really changes, man.
No, really. So work's got you on that zombie mode, man.
Yeah, but like the two things, like I don't want to talk much about this movie because everyone has, you know, I don't want to exactly be another podcast that's just putting a whole episode on this movie.
It's important because Romero is, like, I mean, the other movies that we're going to talk about even reference his, not just his work, but got blessings from him, even though it was unnecessary. You know, it was one of those things like, he is the king of zombies. Like, tip your hat to this son of a bitch. Like, even in Call of Duty, he had to fight a gigantic George Romero.
That's the thing. Like, he
Big
is
zombie Romero.
Like he is one of the kings of horror.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's when you think of some of the gods of horror, it's George Romero, Wes Craven, John Carpenter. You know, like,
touch of Fulci.
You have Fulci, even Mario Bava. Like the list could really go on, but he's
top of the list, man.
I think the Mount Rushmore of horror icons.
Oh,
he
yeah.
has to be.
He also gave really good, like, some of the best creators in the industry their footwork. Like Tom Savini probably wouldn't have the work he has now without Romero.
Oh, same with Greg Nicotero as well. Like Walking Dead, everything is spawned off of him. You know, like, and he did. That's the thing. He is most well known for zombie movies. Like, he did not do just zombie movies. One of our vampire episodes that we did before this one, he did a movie called Martin, which is a vampire movie.
Very fucking
like
weird,
but he is the zombie guy.
Absolutely.
Like, unfortunately, but he did it extremely well. Most of his zombie movies are done extremely well.
Yeah.
Some of them are kind of not up to what we would like to think of a Romero movie.
Yeah,
to be honest.
Sometimes you can only hit that note so many times before you're like, "Fuck, man, really, we're done."
Resident Evil that came out in 2002, directed and written by Paul W.S. Anderson.
I loved it. This one out of the whole franchise was the only one that kicked it right, in my opinion. The rest of them were more action. This one, I wouldn't say it stayed true to the video game, which, I mean, we don't even need to get into the video game.
Borderline strays pretty far away from the video game.
Yeah.
Which the video game did come out in 1996 as well for the PlayStation, made from Capcom.
But it carried the eeriness, that subtle, like, you don't know what's coming around every corner.
It was still fear. Like, like you were saying, out of all of them, except for the most recent one that came out.
Oh, yeah.
Although this is like the only one that was actually horror.
Yeah.
You know, all the other ones, like, they were action with zombies.
And they pulled out the big guns for this one, too. They had Marilyn Manson doing all the scoring for the movie. Not his music, I think it was on the soundtrack for sure, but he did the scoring for it. And, you know, you had great music throughout the rest of it. You had Slipknot even put in a video for Plague was the song that they put on the extras for that movie. And throughout the whole thing, you had new up-and-comers and already stars up in there. Michelle Rodriguez.
I freaking love her so much. Like, she was and still is a little bit one of my crushes. You know, I mean, especially like at 2002, I want to say, like, I think I was in middle school or high school when this came. Middle school, I think. I was in school still when this movie came out, and everyone has seen this movie.
Yeah.
Like it didn't matter if you were in a horror or whatnot. Like, I think it was just because it was a game. You know, it was a game. Everyone saw this one. Everyone saw Doom.
We were stoked to see
when
our
it came
video game
out.
turned into a movie for the first time. And I mean, they didn't stick to the storyline once again, but they did do a killer job at capturing the lighting and things like that you'd see in the video game. The dark overset throughout the whole thing. The flashing lights fucking killed me. Those dogs.
Which that's the thing. Like, this movie had zombie dogs. Like, these zombies were actually pretty scary. They had the liquor, which I don't really recall. I know they had to have had it before, but this is like one of the first movies I really I remember having a zombie creature, not so much just a reanimated corpse. It was a
lab experiment gone to hell. And to be fair, when we all first saw it, the liquor looked amazing. Watching it now with our updated technology, it looks clearly added.
Oh,
but
the CG is. I guess the liquor CG is very dated.
That's what I'm talking about.
Like when they're actually going through the laser door or the doors with the lasers and all that stuff. That still looks pretty damn good for even nowadays standards.
I'm a big fan of the horde scene where they're just trying to shoot their way back upstairs. They're just fucking things up. People are getting bit left and right, and you're running out of ammo.
And that's the thing too, like, because typically
in the fucking game, not enough ammo.
Oh gosh, so true. But like with Romero movies, the way to kill a corpse is bash the head in. Kill the brain. Yeah. That was through a lot of movies. That's what the belief was. You destroy the brain, you destroy the body, like the corpse.
I'd also like to point out that this movie with the dogs, they seem to be treating animals very nicely on this one. The extra shit that they did for that wasn't the dog sitting in makeup for hours. The hardest part was getting the dog to not eat the
I think it was like a jam or something like that on it.
It was like pizza toppings and shit like that. Back when you could peel off the cheese and pizza toppings and you know what I mean, just eat that. That's what they were putting on the dogs with a little bit of foodstuffs. So the dogs did want to eat what was on their fucking body, but
yeah, I think even in this movie, I don't even think killing the shooting the head really killed them. Like, they were scary. They got shot. They didn't go down.
It felt like
shot.
You needed
they
to do
kept
a little
on
bit
moving.
more. Yeah, it was one of those ones where nobody really had a good shot in that whole fucking film. They tried their damnedest, fully auto weapons, and they couldn't land shit.
Yeah,
but it still made a damn good movie in my opinion. It had the chase, that whole vibe that you got when you're playing the game. The chase, shit, I'm low on ammo. I got to go back here. I got to recoup. Yeah. I got to, like, they're coming around the corner. There
was a pretty linear storyline, like where it felt like a video game, where you started from a point A to point B, and you had to get out.
Where kids are just the creepiest fucking thing about it. The little girl animation.
Which, if you haven't seen, or I can't remember the storyline off of the first Evil Dead game, or not Evil Dead, Resident Evil game. But this movie there is a virus that breaks out in a lab called the Umbrella Corp. Not the T virus.
It's called the T virus. It breaks out in the Umbrella Corp labs. It's the question is why the fuck this happened the whole movie. So you have the mystery of who done it, along with the how the fuck are we gonna stop it, and spoiler alert, it gets five fucking movies deep.
Is it only 5?
Yeah, I want to say it might be a little bit more, but I gotta be honest. I want to say the third one is where I stopped watching them. Like, at this point, it's more action. They're losing me. Wesker was supposed to be, in my opinion, a little bit more pivotal than they made him. But
I remember this one and the second one. I vaguely remember the other ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, virus breaks out in the lab, airborne contagion again, and they come up, try to restart the whole Umbrella Corp. I don't quite really remember the whole point of the damn movie other than
get the fuck out alive. So what they were trying to do was they were trying to go in and stop it at the source so that they could stop it from spreading. They had to go deep down into the hive because, of course, where do they keep this? At the fucking bottom of the son of a bitch. And I mean, it is like 50 stories below the Earth's surface. So it was a secret way to get in and all that shit. And the Mia Jovovich, her character, wakes up not knowing a fucking thing. So figuring out stuff,
which she's in the mansion that's above this, which the mansion is the top. Her job, her and I think her husband's job is to protect the virus from getting out or anything from coming in. They are the gate to get in and out.
Exactly. But military shows up, tries to do their thing, and of course the military's intelligence is not as deep as they thought it was, and things get out of hand pretty fucking quickly.
I don't know, man. The military always does such a bang up job, no matter what they do.
Gotta give them credit where due, but in this one, they fucking shot the bed.
Sad truth.
It seems to be the theme in zombie movies.
What is?
You think you can rely on the military, but the military in these zombie movies, they always fuck up hard.
Well, I think some of it is like we are bred to believe in that the military or the government is going to have our back.
Yeah,
a lot of us are smart enough where we know that no matter what, the government's not going to have our back. Like, they pretend they do, but they want the votes.
You might be able to get some kind of shelter, but it's going to be a less than favorable version than what you had before you needed them. At least in these movies, that's how it was. In Dreamcatcher, that's how that shit was.
That is such
more like
big hole to
camp.
dig down into, because I mean, it's that whole belief like, oh, like if they're there that we could rely on when they have the support and everything, we're gonna have other people that are against it and all that stuff. I mean, we saw this recently in COVID. Where like some of them, it took forever to get this support, and then a lot of us, we didn't believe that was happening.
Right.
Didn't get the support.
They didn't have they had the guns. They had the guns and they had the ammo, and that's in a zombie apocalypse what you want the most.
Yeah. Food and weaponry.
Yep.
And hopefully safety.
One can only hope.
All right. Next movie, which is, I feel like it's getting more well known nowadays, and it is another great movie, and it's based off of more real life zombies. Well, as real life as a dead zombie can be, or a dead corpse can be. Is The Serpent at the End of the Rainbow, or I always say at the end. The Serpent at the Rainbow came out in 1988, directed by none other than Wes Craven. This is based off of a book from Wade Davis with the same name as a title of the movie. And the main star is Bill Pullman. Like, he was coming off of Spaceballs. Like, he was a comedy actor. Freaking love Spaceballs. If you haven't seen that one, after you watch this movie, watch Spaceballs, and it's like, that's the same fucking actor. Like, that acting is good, but this one, like, he is a phenomenal actor in this one. Where you end up following Dennis Allen, Bill Pullman's part, where he's traveling to Haiti to actually find out why did this corpse come back to life. That someone was buried, and then a couple months later, he was found walking around. Which then he actually goes to Haiti, figures all this shit out, and falls into a whole Haiti trap. That's pretty much the whole basis of the movie. Like, just talking about it isn't going to really ruin the movie. It is a trip of a movie to begin with, and it is a lot of fun too. But it is based off of a real event.
Oh, shit!
I'm gonna butcher this name because I think it's French. Clairvius Narcisse. This happened in April 30th, 1962, where two American doctors classified this guy as dead. Like, they took his, he came in early, had a high fever, he was vomiting blood, he was deteriorating. They thought he was dead and dying, or dying and dead. So they ended up burying him, and lo and behold, he came back to life.
I don't think I got to see that one. That one's a harder one to find, which is why I'm thinking that it's not as well known. I mean, it feels like when things take off, they definitely take that shit off of streaming or any shelves that you can find it on. That's
like one of the things about this movie is there's been a huge, I want to say a very good resurgence of these lesser known 80s, early 90s movies, especially when they come from more foreign films. This isn't a foreign film, but it's based in a foreign country. Granted, the actual shooting of this, the filming of it, was a lot of issues because they started filming this in Haiti, which then Haiti's government was throwing a huge uproar at this time. So they ended up having to take a lot of their scenes over to the Dominican Republic.
What was the uproar over? Was it the filming of the movie in general, or was it just some unrelated?
It was just an unrelated government. I wish I could remember exactly what but the whole country was up in arms.
I thought it was going to be Dogma. When you have people revolting against you filming a movie, you're doing shit right. No. But that's not the case with this one.
That's kind of the thing. with what I've read, a lot of like Americans kind of thought this was bad mouthing or making Haiti look bad, or like it wasn't a good movie because we were degrading them. And it's like because like the voodoo and all that stuff, which
given the
wasn't
folklore, the tip of the hat it deserves. I mean, it's where the folklore started, right? So.
Yes. On top of that, a lot of the Haitian people, they love this movie because this is their movie. This is they have pride in this movie, which is freaking amazing.
That is awesome.
I want to say like the drug, one of the drugs like in this movie, or that was based off of real life, was it a datura, a datura. But like in the movie, it was like 2 or 3 different like very poisonous elements that could kill you if you take too much. I think it was like some of it was pufferfish, a plant, and something else, and they had to mix it together, bury it, and it was just like some weird thing to actually get this zombification act to actually happen.
It's creepy.
It is such a fucking trip of a movie. It is so enjoyable. Like it is. I don't even want to say it's a slow burn.
I love it when a movie kicks off strong, man.
That's the thing. Like it doesn't take off running. Like it's not like bam in your face. It's just a good story.
That's how I feel like the rest of our movies that we're talking about. Well, they all kick off with a hell of a bang. It's one of my favorites because it has some of the most iconic scenes you'll ever see in zombie. Tarman being the shit.
Yes, and we are talking about Return of the Living Dead that came out in 1985, directed by Dan O'Bannon, which I want to say is like his directorial debut as well.
First time I saw this movie actually wasn't on my own. I saw it at the Blue Mouse Theater up in Tacoma. And there is nothing like seeing one of these movies with a group of people that are going to sit there and enjoy it as much as you are.
That is one of the great things about this movie is I think it takes place on like it even says the date, like August 16th. I wish I could remember the actual date. And they have a set time where there's a some of the mutants from the mutant family.
I have it on a t-shirt. I actually have that scene on a t-shirt. The Cadillac pulling up and it has the date on the top.
Yes. So it's became a huge thing with a lot of following, where like on Twitter or on Twix, where like, all right, it's this time that everyone start the movie, and it's just a huge horror family that are just sit down and watch this movie together because there is a time to watch this movie.
Yeah.
Which makes this movie so great. But yes, seeing it in a movie theater, this movie is one of those ones, if it is ever playing in a theater near you, go and see it. Even if you're by yourself, go and see it. Like this movie is so freaking amazing.
Another one of those ones where the main characters aren't exactly your typical group of people that you see as main characters. I mean, Freddy did this kind of thing all the time, but that's what Freddy was all about. But Return of the Living Dead, you had fucking punk ass kids kicking in a graveyard, drinking, smoking,
and that's the thing.
Kind of
this
bullshit.
movie is closer to being like realistic people, like real people, compared to like all these other movies. Like they're typecast, or they're just the typical jock and the druggie and all that stuff. Like no, it seemed extremely plausible. Like what people.
I mean, there were things in there that definitely weren't, like the toxic sludge and shit like that, but it was still a lot of fun.
Like you do have like Tarman. I think that was he was Alan Troutman played Tarman, which did such an amazing character. And this movie is so freaking brutal too. I mean, so the zombies don't really like the starting of the zombies is they open up a canister that was from the army, with the yellow smoke that came out of it, and that housed Tarman. They didn't know it, but then the smoke gets sent into their poor filtration system, but the air system, it gets pumped into the lab they were working in, or their shipping out lab, and then gets the smoke ends up going out into the sky, and a storm happens, and then everything that breathes in that air gets hit by that water becomes the dead.
Yeah, what kills me in it is like you had this high-end science lab, but you had this haphazard, complacent ass delivery guy. This half-open jug of sludge being delivered. Hey, here's your delivery, motherfucker. Like he's like a butcher or some shit like that.
Slightly almost off topic. Like the kid the new hire that ends up helping start all this stuff, he reminds me a lot of a young Corey Taylor. Like some of his
All
looks,
right,
he kind of has
yeah.
that same like cheekbones, that's like that little like cleft chin and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
like it looks like a young Corey Taylor. Which they were probably around the same age, but from Tom Matthews. And that's the thing that with these zombies, though, they weren't the typical ones where you could shoot them in the head or anything. Like, and that's the thing. Anything that was alive at a period of time came to life in this fucking movie. Like it was, they had a diorama, right, of a half of a dog where you can see all the organs and stuff.
Yeah.
That thing comes to fucking life and starts moving and barking.
This is horrible.
It is just so freaking crazy. You have a yellow man that comes out of nowhere, a yellow naked man, and just they're I almost want to say mindless, but they weren't
effects
mindless.
were disgusting up in this movie. Like they did a great job at making everything look like you needed to go home and take a shower when you were done on this set.
Yes, that's the thing. Like with these zombies too, like you couldn't kill them. Like you can't shoot them in the head. You turn off a limb, doesn't mean that they're dead. The limb is still alive. The limb is still moving because they
Still
end up,
mostly like mindless too. So it wasn't.
That's the thing. I don't almost want to call them mindless.
It was slightly intellectual, but not like.
Well, to the point where, kind of near the end of the movie, when all the chaos and the riots breaking out, there's a cop car, and over the radio they're saying, "Is everyone okay?" And the guy on the radio, or the zombies, like, send more brains, or like, send more people.
Oh man. The fuck the police kind of thing going on with this whole movie, really. This was a push against authority in every aspect.
Which they made
The cast alone showed that. Some leather-clad punk kids smoking weed,
just
telling
going into
cops
a graveyard,
to fuck themselves, getting
just
arrested.
to bullshit and have fun.
Yeah.
Like they even make fun of George Romero's. I shouldn't say they have made an homage by with me saying that the only way you could kill these zombies are by burning them and to ash. Where one of the characters, like, they have a conversation, was like, "I thought you said if we destroy the brain it'll die." It's like, it worked in the movie. Well, it ain't working now, Frank. That's the thing. Like, so it was slightly meta. Ever so slightly meta, like where it's like they realized that zombies were in movies in actual real life, or
almost broke that wall there.
Yeah, and this movie is such a joy. Like it was I almost kind of want to say one of the first movies that brought in a good amount of comedy into a horror movie.
Yeah,
and stuff like it was more.
Still hit that B-rated line, but it was. I felt like it was put together so well.
A lot of good dark humor. Like it was very bleak and just
it set up a lot of other movies that came out at that time to only hit success, like Reanimator and shit like that.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
which that's the thing. Like next movie we're going to be talking about is 28 Days Later, which arguably that movie came out in 2002, directed by Danny Boyle. Which I want to say this movie got its recognition or its big thing about. They're the first fast-moving zombies. They're not the slow, laboring, tripping over each other, brainless zombies, which, Return of the Living Dead did it before this movie did.
Right.
Doesn't get recognized for it, at least for the time. But even a movie before that came out in 1980 called Nightmare City, which is still on my watch list, was the first movie to actually do fast zombies, like where they weren't, again, the typical early George Romero zombies.
Well, and when he's saying fast zombies, I mean as fast as a human can sprint. Like there are some of these other movies that you'll watch and you got zombies leaping up the side of buildings and shit like that. But these are like they are only able to do what the human body can do.
Which it wasn't like they weren't super zombies.
These motherfuckers were quick enough to chase your ass down and not worry about
like
breathing.
rigor mortis didn't set in or any of that stuff. Yeah. There's no Clerks action happening.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, but I mean, 28 Days Later. Do they ever say how it started? Because I know
when I looked up, I found the reason why Shaun of the Dead started. And that was a brief moment. You wouldn't have caught it if you weren't listening in that movie. But on this one, I feel like part of it was not knowing why it kicked off. The motherfucker just woke up. There was no precursor. He just wakes up in a hospital.
Which was Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Like he woke up in this. Like this is what started the whole Big Bang in Japan. So this predates that whole thing. But But yeah, so like he does wake up, like The Walking Dead, wakes up in a hospital, kind of naked.
Yeah, super naked.
Hey.
So Cillian Murphy killed it in this. As soon as he wakes up, it's like he realizes his town is shit. So he gathers some supplies and tries to find comfort as quickly as possible.
Well, like, and that's the thing. Like, I almost don't want to say quickly as possible because they probably take a good. I mean, it feels like 20 minutes, even though it was probably only 5 minutes. But he's walking through like London, I want to say, and there's no one around. Like he's just.
I say as quickly as possible because the only thing they didn't really say why he was in the hospital in the first place. You only see him with a shaved head and a scar on it, right? So as quickly as a guy with brain injury could think it up, you know what I mean? So he's walking, he's gathering food. He's like, well, I don't need the candy bars, but I need something to get me by. So he grabs some sodas, put them in a bag, and he tries to find shelter. Which, for a naked guy, nothing but a robe on, he's doing pretty good.
Like, and he does survive. Like, I mean, he, like, so with what I found out, it was between this movie and its sequel, 28 weeks later. It is based off of a Ebola virus and stuff, which has mutated into like rage, and stuff. So it is.
Rage is accurate. Like the eyes that they gave these zombies, the wide open, bloodshot, looking through you. I'm going to rip you the fuck apart,
like,
zombies.
There is this one zombie that is, I want to say, very recognizable and is probably the most scariest because of his complexion. Like he is a black gentleman with these just very bright, dark. I know it's kind of intuitive saying dark, bright, but they were like dark
bloodshot. Like it's a night scene and it's raining, and when they pan in on this guy's eyes,
it was a good jump. It wasn't even a jump scare, but it was.
No, it settled eerie with you, and
just staring through the window.
It was the first time in the whole movie that you got the sense that there's some kind of humanity left in these zombies, because he somewhat frees this zombie to attack somebody else by shooting the chain, and the zombie looks up at him and then runs in the opposite direction. It was almost like a thank you, but those fucking eyes that he looked at him with were terrifying.
Yeah,
like, you're lucky you're up there, motherfucker, because I got other shit to kill.
Which, the one that was actually keeping him, I don't want to say hostage, but chained up was almost a military base.
Yeah.
So you have Cillian Murphy, and I cannot remember the other actress's name, but they found each other in a apartment complex or a flat.
Yeah, it was a flat.
They end up traveling because they're trying to go to the military base because that's where safety is the government again.
Yeah.
You gotta love military because they're there to protect and serve us.
I wouldn't call this the best representation of the military because these guys were pretty much, it feels like they were a bunch of privates that knew how to set up landmines and shoot the big guns. You know what I mean?
Like this military reminded me a lot of like the military in The Stuff, if you have not seen that movie.
Yeah.
Like, where it is just like a bunch of people that have guns and they watch military movies.
Yeah.
You know, like they might have done like a year in ROTC. You know,
right. They understand the chain of command, but that's about it. I understand we're jumping around a little bit. The one thing that they definitely made that made this movie a little creepy was the harshness that this new world has brought onto your mental thought process. Your morals are a little bit out the fucking window. Cillian Murphy meets up with this chick for the first time, and she has to kill her friend because he got a scratch. This motherfucker isn't even turning yet. Mm-hmm. He's pleading for his life. She's like, "Sorry, bitch," and just hacks this son of a bitch. And she goes, "Don't get caught because I'll fucking get you too." I mean,
that's the thing. Like,
it was
they
a cutthroat
realized
society now.
How bad it was, and that's the thing. It's 28 days later. Like, as they're making another movie to this, like a part of the whole trilogy
with Cillian Murphy.
Yeah, he's reprising his role as Oppenheimer 2, if I'm not mistaken. Where this movie's going to explode. It's actually going to explode in every movie theater. It's crazy the effects that they're doing nowadays. But I don't think even in the books, because they made a comic book in between it, but what the day one was.
Yeah.
I don't think there was a day zero. I think it was supposed to be like a day zero flashback in 28 months later or 28 weeks later.
I want to say there was a little bit in there. I feel like that movie was really hard for me to.
It's
the first one was so fucking good. The way it was shot, it had the camera effects kind of like in Dog Soldiers, so it kind of had a gritty home movie kind of vibe going on, and it felt like it threw you in real quick, and you were just wondering how this guy was going to survive the whole fucking time. And who was going to survive with them. In the other one, it felt like it was more of things have subsided and the military has regained control. So, I mean, it just wasn't as packed with the action, in my opinion.
I don't want to call it a throwaway movie, but I don't remember that movie at all. I'm not saying that the movie was bad. It's just, some movies honestly just stick out. I mean, I have Letterboxd and a app for all my movies because I don't remember every movie I've seen and I watched. I need a list to like, I did see that movie. I don't remember it.
Oh, there are plenty of movies where it's like, you know what, I like this one and this one. I can skip these ones and just watch it seamlessly and enjoy it. And I feel like that's what's going to be with this one and the newer
I just hope the newer one still has that same grittiness to it.
I
doubt it will.
I feel like Cillian Murphy, the reason why I didn't like the rest of them was because it felt like you wanted me to ditch everything I knew about the first one. So it was already detaching me from the fucking storyline.
Which they're doing with the Blair Witch Project again, like where they're trying to make another sequel. And it's like, just pay attention to why the first one did so fucking well, why it has a following, why people actually like it.
Yeah.
The actual enjoyment from it. Even some of the actors or the director from the first one, listen to them. Like talking about fast zombies, and comedy.
Yeah.
is we're going to talk about, honestly, a movie. If you love horror or if you don't care for horror, you need to see this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and it is Shaun of the Dead.
It's a staple. I feel like it's one of those ones that, because I'm a huge horror comedy fan, this one hit the note so hard.
It's a rom-com horror movie.
Yeah, it's a rom-com. I feel like it's a bromance in particular.
Which is still a rom-com,
You're right.
I mean,
it's just...
But for every good rom-com, you need three people. You need usually like the couple, and then you have the best friend that tries to break it up. Or
the
that you try to,
friend, some shit, yeah.
Where you don't want that other actual healthy relationship to actually work because you want your own greediness out of it.
Yeah, this movie was chock full with little tidbits from other movies. It had its own personality going on with it. The fact that this crew that's working together has worked together before on more than one level,
which is Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg. Which that's like one of the things too is I remember when this first movie came out and they were talking about these people are like, I didn't realize Nick Frost wasn't Edgar Wright.
Oh, all right.
Because I didn't go on the internet that often. I wasn't reading Fangoria or any of this stuff. So I was like, oh yeah, this couple, man, they're always in all these movies because they were also in Hot Fuzz together. I was like, it's this duo. In which I think Edgar Wright also did Hot Fuzz as well. Yeah. Which, with my young brain, I was just like, oh, they're the same people, not Nick Frost. But Edgar Wright, like, just touching upon him real quick, he's also done quite a few other great movies. I mean, he's done like Scott Pilgrim, which is another great graphic novel-ish video game movie.
Yeah.
That's Night in Soho, which is another great movie. That is, you're following a seamstress that's learning how to do shit back in the day, like modern day seamstress. I'm definitely keeping that in. But he's also, I guess, going into making another Stephen King book or movie, which is a remake off of The Running Man. Arnold Schwarzenegger's last movie.
Shit. All right. I knew that they were remaking Christine, but I didn't know they were going to remake that one too. But with Shaun of the Dead, they paid a lot of attention to details. Like they did that thing where you replay a scene and shit like that, but things were different every fucking time they did it, and you didn't really feel bored because Sean's not paying attention. The whole thing is about these two oblivious fucking life burnouts, and Oblivious is well played throughout this whole fucking film because the world's crumbling around them and they can't figure out what the hell's going on until it's too late.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. This movie is so jam-packed where you don't even need to... It is so enjoyable on the surface where you don't need to look in the background, even though there's always action happening, like stuff going on in the background, different actors doing things. You have Harry Potter and Britney Spears in the background. It is such a phenomenal movie on so many different ends. like there's like a small little reference to Simon Pegg's character. Like there's a poster in their flat where it's I think the name on it is like Cy Begg, which is, I guess, Simon Pegg's character in there. It was given his character a backstory on being a DJ, possibly before all this stuff goes off.
Cool.
Stuff like it is just so many little things, even like down to Edgar Wright's hangover cure, which was pretty much like our version of it's not a drumstick, it's like the little, just a cone with the ice cream with the like chocolate on top and stuff.
Like Cornettos is what they're called. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're a hangover cure. They we're coming to get you, Barbara.
Yeah, it's like that's the thing. They pay so much love and homage to so many of the zombie movies, from Dusk and Night Till Dawn.
Oh, they even gave the premiere to George Romero himself, and he fucking loved it. They didn't need to do that because it's not ripping off his work, but to have a blessing from the king himself, I mean,
and
that's
for him to
awesome.
actually love it and enjoy it.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, honestly, I could die right then and there. Like, I don't have to see what this movie does and the culture that it brings. But I don't know if it's the mixture of like the dry bit humor or what it was with this movie, because it makes it extremely.
I feel like it's because it had that Letterkenny quip. Like, it might have been dry at times with the humor, but it felt like the next one was always firing off real quick.
I want to say yes, that like, because that's the thing. A lot of like the like British humor and stuff is usually kind of more dry, and a lot of Americans don't really like it because it's just not funny. Or
this one nailed it.
Just like, that's the thing. Like I think it's just like the comedy of like that horror and the romance, and then just how effortlessly everything blended together. It made it so easy for everyone to digest and just enjoy. Like this is not even like a guilty pleasure. It's just like that movie you put on in the background and you see it in your head. You know, you close your eyes, you know this movie because you watch it so many times. If you haven't, fucking watch it. Like I don't think any of these movies are streaming anywhere at the moment except for Night of the Living Dead, which is, I want to say, open domain or free domain, and it's anywhere and everywhere. Yeah,
Tubi's the easiest way to watch almost anything right now. I had to actually go out to Half Price Books and snag me a copy of Shaun of the Dead, but I was more upset that I didn't already have it in my collection. So
I feel like that's one of the things too. Like, this movie isn't in a lot of people's actual physical media collections because that's the thing. I don't know how everyone has seen this goddamn movie and has not have the physical copy of it. Like, it's just manifested itself.
I was looking up the popular zombie movies, and fucking Night of the Living Dead's clearly up there, but Zombieland and Shaun of the Dead are 4 and 5 of the most sought after movies. Number 1 is 28 Days Later. 28 Days Later being the creepiest, but those other two are, I mean, I feel like they're perfectly comedic in every way, and I feel like Zombieland's been readily available for a while, so I could see why people wouldn't have it in their collection. But Shaun of the Dead, that's one of the ones that I was like I remember watching it over at my friend's house, pizza and a movie, and that was the one we chose.
I think also that movie hasn't really dropped in price because we're talking about physical media at the moment, where that movie is still $10+ no matter where you look. It's usually $10+ compared to Zombieland was so oversaturated, where it's, you know, like they're damn near giving it away. Yeah, like it's like a $5 movie, or if you buy a bundle on eBay, it's already in there. Yeah, like Zombieland is a pretty good movie. Like, it is a very good modern update on what if zombies were actually happening, like real. Yeah, and the rules that you need to follow in order to survive. You bunch of Twinkies. You know, those level golden. Plus Bill motherfucking Murray in it too.
Fucking the king. Another king.
We are not talking about that movie in depth because that's another movie that I still felt like everyone should see, is Zombieland. Again, it is more comedy than horror. Like, it is, you know, it has comedy with zombie elements in it.
I feel like Shaun of the Dead has more horror in it than Zombieland. I feel like first of all, the way they got the characters, the background characters, you don't feel like you're going to recognize any of them because they had to get it from a forum for Simon Pegg's former show, Spaced.
Which was Simon Pegg's and Edgar Wright's show. So, I mean,
both of their
they were actual flatmates on top of it.
That was Nick Frost and Simon Pegg were actually flatmates.
we've read two different things. I wonder if we're
Simon Pegg and Nick Frost actually had that connection, which is why it came so effortless in the TV or in the movie. On the TV show, I wouldn't be surprised if Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg were also flatmates. But the whole thing between them is they had a deep fucking work ethic together. So when they had to get extras for the show, they just went onto a forum and said, "Hey, who wants to be in a Simon Pegg movie?"
Yeah.
200 motherfuckers show up for zombie makeup.
Dude, and like some of them are creepy as fuck. You have the twin zombies.
Oh yeah, the two twin trucker looking sons of bitches with the skullets. The
Again,
vacant look in their face.
I'm not too sure. I don't care how this makes me look, but there is also, I don't know if it's just with black zombies or something like that, but they are scary as fuck. There was another one here. His eyes are pure white, and he just has this weird stare, like he's staring into your soul.
He had a vacant look. He was looking through you, and he was gonna fuck you up if he got a hold of you. And he just still had blood dripping out of his face and shit like that. And it was just before they smashed the window into the Winchester.
I think it was also City of the Dead, another Romero movie, like where the zombies were a little bit more smarter, where it was a black zombie that had the know-how to
headphones.
No,
that was
no.
a different one.
This one is like more the modern one where they had like the murder bus and all that shit. But the zombie got a hold of I think it was like an AR or something like that. I don't know my rifles. But he learned how to shoot a firearm.
Oh yeah.
And stuff. And it's like
there was a certain stance this motherfucker carried, and I can tell that there was a reason they chose some of the people to be in the foreground versus the background of this movie. And they chose their background actors very well, because when they did that pan shot just before Shaun jumps into the fucking crowd, you were creeped out by what they showed you. I mean, in my opinion, I was creeped out by what they showed me. I was like, I would not want to be in that son of a bitch's situation.
And that's another great thing about this movie is it is all the references of the other zombie movies, but these are like the stereotypical zombies. You kill, like you shoot the brain, they're dead. You know, they're slow, they're lumbering, they're dumb.
Smash their head in with a cricket bat, you'll be all right.
Yeah.
This one was easy. It's just they were abundant. And like Shaun said, it only takes one of them to know you're here. And it's like when one of them knows, the rest of them,
they're like a hive mind.
It's almost like, they have a hive mind going on with this one. So there is still some small level of intelligence going on between all these. You wouldn't be able to tell because they are slow as fuck. But
again, one of my catchphrases, I didn't write it down because I didn't really pick it up until like the last 3 times I watched this damn movie, was let alone how this movie is shot, like how they shoot the same scene twice, but one is normal everyday life, one's a zombified version. But Nick Frost's character, like where he's just talking about what are they going to do for the day. I was like, oh yeah, have go to the Winchester, drink a Bloody Mary, something else. But that is actually referencing the steps of what that movie's what's going to happen, because one of the zombies that gets pushed over into that umbrella spike.
Oh yeah,
her name is Mary. It's a Bloody Mary. So like there are so many so many hidden little references in this movie. It's just so jam-packed. Like it's not a single watch.
Oh, before I forget, I was wondering what the fuck was up with that patch on the back of Nick Frost's head in that movie. And it was just a fun little extra that he decided to add, because it seems like something Ed's character would have done. You know, drunken night, prank with your drunken friends or some shit like that.
Like, these are the guys you want to hang out with.
Yeah, these are the guys, yeah.
You want to go to the pub, like, and have a good bar.
That was not his hairstylist fucking up. That was his core idea, and I gotta say, it made me ask questions. I looked into the movie even more because of it.
Like the movie is so subtle with some of the things where the bar ends up burning down because they go to the Winchester after the whole zombie apocalypse. I think so many, but the Winchester gets burns down. A couple minutes later, when everything's back to normal, they renamed the bar like the Phoenix.
Yeah,
because it rose from the ashes.
From the ashes.
Stuff. It was just like a throwaway line. Doesn't need to be said. Doesn't need to be anything, but that's just like how great this movie is. And it is directed and written by, like, I mean, I think I already said, like, Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright and stuff. So it was just that dynamic duo that just made such an amazing movie.
It is like, Friendship got that shit done. There's a good, solid group of friends making this shit happen no matter what. Edgar Wright going fucking broke, making sure the shit happened. It was a flawless movie overall, in my opinion. I could watch it over and over again.
And never get tired of it.
Never.
It is such an amazing movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Other than that, there are some video games I'd like to bring up. Days Gone. I feel like that's one of those ones that are fucking great, but it got overlooked because it was when we started hiking up prices for video games. Nobody wanted to pay that $70 for. I
want to say this
game.
Was like the PS4, like in that movie, like it was. It's one of the games I really wanted to pick up and actually play because it looked like a fun zombie game.
Yeah, they shot it like a movie, so you actually had actors doing their damn job up in there, and they were actually going to make a new one. They had a second one lined up and shit, but the sales of the first one went so shitty that they decided to scrap the whole project. The problem is, I didn't even get to play it till it was a free thing on PlayStation Plus. So it was very well put together. You had the ability to distract hordes of zombies and stuff like that to get around your objectives or take out the group and get extra credit and stuff like that. And all in the meantime, my favorite feature, you're on a motorcycle that you have to take care of.
And that's the thing. I remember seeing that you actually had to like rebuild it. It would actually break down. You had to get gas and all this stuff.
They had upgrades and shit like that. You had to gather certain things for upgrades.
I'm curious what they would have named the sequel. Days Still Gone.
Days Lost. They definitely had a really good, overall good storyline for that one, and it just got overlooked. Another one would be Killing Floor. Killing Floor 2 in particular. 1 was a good one, but 2, they cleaned up the graphics a little bit, and they put a killer fucking soundtrack to it. It's a very, very small kind of game where you just hop in a room, kill some shit, and try to survive and get your upgrades and shit like that. Other than that, it was the personification of the zombies. They had like the zombie demon thing going on, and it was a lab experiment gone wrong. It felt like they kind of, I want to say they almost ripped off some of the storyline from Call of Duty, but they definitely made the zombies a little bit more character-like.
Did Call of Duty Zombies actually have a story?
Yes.
I thought it was just more like a multiplayer thing.
The first 2 or 3 didn't really have one, but then after a while you're wondering, why the fuck is this a part of Call of Duty?
Why is it all of a sudden
And they definitely put in a storyline about an outbreak going on. Like, I mean, it happened like any other typical outbreak.
Military.
Yeah. Oh, and that's kind of what happened with Shaun of the Dead. In Shaun of the Dead, it was a satellite... a government satellite accidentally re-entered the atmosphere over a populated area, and you only catch that little detail if you're listening to the TV. And it's fun to listen to the TV because you get little bits of the story as he's changing through the channels, and it's not always coming from the same source. So some of it's kind of hard to get because it's happening in the background. Some of it's hard to get because they're just breezing through it.
Again, the background of Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, there's so many details in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was perfect in every way.
That movie is jam packed.
Yeah, there are plenty of other video games and stuff like that that are turning into movies. Shaun of the Dead, unfortunately, is not one of them. But
I think that's one of the things too is zombies they carry over to video games so incredibly well because no one feels guilty for shooting a Nazi or a
zombie.
ghost
Yeah,
or
no, absolutely not.
Ghost zombie.
Yeah,
and I mean they're like Dead Rising for like the Xbox was another fun game. Like it's just zombies just translate very well over to any form of media, even the TV.
Last of Us was seamless, man. That was a new form of zombie too. The TV show was fucking great. Can't wait for the new season to drop. And on top of it, the zombies were creepy in nature. There's different kinds for different kinds of fungus that took over the body, and it just
I think I only watched like 2 episodes of Last of Us. And stuff, and they were just killing off anyone that wasn't white.
It did kind of feel that way.
It really did. I don't like. Again, I'm pretty sure there's probably more people in that TV show, but
it's a good one though. It's just it feels like for a while there we were on a zombie fucking cash grab, It was mostly because of Call of Duty
And Walking Dead.
and Walking Dead. Well, Walking Dead kind of picked up in the middle of that shit for sure, but I don't know. Walking Dead was it's hit and miss. I feel like the middle was boring. The beginning.
We'll
and the
talk
end
about
are
The Walking Dead on
fantastic,
another
but-
episode because that is
But overall,
a can of worms.
yeah. But overall, I can say that I really enjoyed the makeup and features in that. They made
I'll let you say that.
shit.
I'm
look
not
good.
going to disagree or argue that one at all. Like Greg Nicotero's work and the team that he has helped put together.
That's what I'm saying.
Like-
The artwork in that shit is phenomenal.
Fucking Greg Nicotero is another makeup, like a current generation's makeup god.
Oh yeah.
Like I mean,
I feel like we should do an episode on nothing but those guys. Them and stuntmen don't get enough credit.
oh man, it'd be so hard to actually create. I still feel like it'd almost have to be an episode for each one of the
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the amount of work that some of them have done is just so
It's
so
vast.
vast, and some of their own personal history. And with Nicotero's getting his job and his start from George Romero,
Yeah.
you know, I mean,
I don't know where Savini started, but I thought he started with Romero as well.
I can't.
I know he's
don't
had
100% remember.
other life experiences that got in the way and only put more details into his work when he got back. So
Right.
he's an all-star, that motherfucker.
Too many zombies.
Too little time.
Yeah, and it's all because of fucking Bridget.
Fucking Bridget.
Well, we hope you have a horrible day, and I don't know. Hopefully you horror problem as like we do.
Yeah.
Peace out.